back here with a quick message for any first-year applicants interested in applying to Viterbi School of Engineering for fall 2025. You still have time to apply. Our regular decision deadline is coming up on January 15th at 11:59 p.m. in your time zone. All common applications must be submitted by that deadline. Transcripts can come in after the deadline. Also, in order for us to see your application, you must select a Viterbi major as a first choice. That's any major starting with VSE. We can't wait to learn about you. Now let's get that podcast started.
This is Viterbi Voices.
Coming to you from the University of Southern California, Viterbi School of Engineering.
We're here to give you the inside scoop on research, classes, student life, and so much more.
All of these shared by students, faculty, alumni, and other members of the USC community.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Viterbi Voices. As usual, I am one of your hosts. My name is Paul Ledesma. I'm the Executive Director of Undergraduate Admission here at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
Hi, everyone. My name is Safia Patel. I'm your other co-host. I'm a senior studying computer science and doing my master's in engineering management.
And this, Safia, is the final episode of Viterbi Voices for the fall 2024 first half of season 10. I don't know what we would call that. Was this the mid series finale? What do they call it when they go halfway through the season?
Part one before the intermission.
Mid-season finale or something like that.
We can go with that.
Yeah, season 10, mid-season finale. We're halfway through. So if you're listening to this, the students are about to go on winter break. And so we take a little break. We don't put out any episodes, relax a little bit. We'll be back in January. And joining us for our mid-season finale of season 10 is someone new to the podcast, and they need to take themselves off of mute and stay off of mute because we need to be able to hear you. There you go. And go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hansini. I am a sophomore majoring in electrical and computer engineering and minoring in dance.
Hansini, tell us everybody a little bit more about yourself, where you're from, and other things you do here on campus.
Sure, yeah. I am originally from Fremont, California. It's in the Bay Area, so not too far, an hour flight. And on campus, I'm involved in a couple of things. I am on a project-based club called Makers. I am also involved in undergraduate research through Curve, where I'm working in a lab that's doing wearable electronic devices for electrochemical sensing. I am also a course producer, which is essentially an undergraduate TA for two electrical engineering courses that I took as a freshman. And I'm involved in a South Asian Fusion a cappella team where I serve as competition logistics director.
Wow. Do you also sing, or you just direct logistics?
No, I do sing. I was one of the leads for last year.
Well, that's amazing. And can you explain to us how you're going to? It's a fusion group. Like, what types of songs are you doing? Are you doing remixes of popular songs, or?
Sure, yeah. So we do Indian classical music, kind of Carnatic or Hindustani, and we mix that with Bollywood. We also mix that with Western music. This year we're doing Oh My God and Ceilings, mixing that with two Bollywood songs, and we also have a classical music.
Oh my gosh. When's your showcase?
So we practice kind of 6-7 months of the year. And then in February and March, we travel to competitions. Last year, we went to Michigan State and to UC Davis to compete. And we actually placed last year.
That's awesome. What were the two songs again?
So for this year.
This year.
Yeah, we're doing Oh My God and Ceilings are the two Western songs.
And I have a feeling I have no idea what these songs are. This is me, because I was like, am I supposed to know what these are? This off, you're like, sick. I'm like, I don't know who they are.
Mentioned Lizzie McAlpine on a very early episode this season. I'm not sure.
Lizzie McAlpine?
Yeah. When we were talking
about trying to come up with another artist to follow?
I don't remember, but Lizzie McAlpine's really good. And she's had a lot of popularity lately. And Ceilings is one of her best songs, or most popular songs.
And Lizzie McAlpine, but Oh My God is what? Help me not be an old man.
Honestly,
Adele?
As someone trained in classical, I am equally as clueless.
Is it Adele?
I don't think so. Oh, actually, I'm not sure which one it is. Because I
Yeah,
know
it is.
there's. Oh, I don't even know that song. Now Paul's gonna give it a
Turns out there's
listen.
lots of songs named "Oh My God."
Yeah.
We're doing the one by itself.
Well, while we figure this out, let's learn a little bit more, Hansini, about your episode that you brought to us today. What is this episode all about?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm actually a new member for this semester in Makers, and I have three other makers, a project manager, a co-president, and director of membership. And we're just going to talk about our experiences, why you should join such a team, types of projects we work on, leadership experiences, and community building, and a lot more.
That's awesome. Well, let's get out of our own way and hand it back over to Hansini to talk a little bit more about Makers and what that organization does. And we will join you on the other side of this episode to chit chat, clean things up, and also hopefully tell you why my audio doesn't sound as good as it normally does. But we'll see you on the other side.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me on this episode of the podcast where we're going to talk about all things makers. I have the pleasure of talking to three amazing makers today. Why don't we introduce ourselves? Name, major, hometown, year, fun fact, and role in makers. Let's start with Alanna.
Hi, my name is Alanna. I'm a sophomore majoring in electrical and computer engineering. My role in the club is director of membership, and a fun fact about me is I could unicycle as a kid.
Hi, I'm Alexandra. I'm a junior studying computer engineering and computer science. I am one of Maker's co-presidents this year. I'm from Cedar Falls, Iowa, and my fun fact is that I can play 7 musical instruments.
Wow.
That's a pretty fun fact.
That's really cool.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mitch Kirby. I'm a junior this year studying civil and mechanical engineering. I am from Scranton, Pennsylvania, which I'm also going to use as my fun fact if you've ever seen the show The Office. That is where it is set.
Awesome. Well, let's start with when did you join Makers and why? Alanna, you want to go first?
Sure. I joined Makers spring of 2024, and I joined Makers because I really just like the close-knit community I feel like Makers tries to offer. Like, I feel like all of the members know each other, or they get to try to know each other. And with that, I feel like I also just really love the engineering aspect of it, like being able to directly put your hands on your project, being able to see your contributions and like point to them and say, that's what I did. And that's how I've grown throughout the semester, but also the people.
I joined Makers spring of 2023. I originally heard about the club from my brother, who was also a student in Viterbi. And I went to the tutorial that like we do during our recruitment, and I saw everyone was super sweet, and it was really fun to like get to tinker. I think it was like a little motor lab thing, and honestly I was clueless. I did not know anything at the time, but it was a lot of fun to get to meet everyone. And then since then I've just grown to know it's such a great community, and there's a lot of really awesome people, and it's really satisfying to get to work on a project all year long and then be super proud of yourself when you get to show it off at the end of the year.
This was the first club I joined at USC.
Oh,
This
wow.
was my fall of my freshman year, so fall 22. And I'm a project manager, which I forgot to mention. And I joined because I see it as like a very close, approachable club, like in the startup sphere, even though we don't brand ourselves that way. I think it's very applicable. And like, I know that's where I want to go into. I want to go in the innovation side of engineering and have my own company one day. And so I see this as such a perfect gateway into that area.
Yeah, that's so cool. I think, well, I'm definitely the last one to join Makers. I joined this semester. I was a new member. But I do echo a lot of what you guys said. I think I first heard about Makers as a freshman as well. And what I really liked is everyone was so sweet, like genuinely so sweet. And they just had this like, they got this pure joy from just building stuff, which yes, it's nerdy, but they're also really sweet. And I was like, wait, that's kind of cool. And I think like throughout my interview process and obviously the first semester, I've like, that's really held up. And so that's been nice. Let's talk about what projects that you've been on in the past or are PMing for. Anyone can take it.
I'll lead us off.
Okay.
This semester, I'm very proud to promote my project that I'm working on. It's called Power Path. Short blurb of it. basically a sidewalk that generates energy from people walking over it. It's trying to tap into renewable energy, passive energy that like already exists, and kind of put that at the forefront of projects. Because that's kind of where I see myself kind of going into. So I'm trying to create something there.
Wait, that's really cool because you're involved in a lot of sustainability stuff, energy conservation stuff outside of Makers or like your coursework itself. So how has that been, like the process kind of integrating that with Makers and coming up with the project?
Well, to my knowledge, you can correct me if I'm wrong. It's me and then my good friend Lair, the only people from the civil and environmental engineering department in the club. So I'm always trying to bring that to the forefront of what I'm doing, because I think there's a lot of overlap. Like you're saying, I'm involved in a lot of other sustainability, like either initiatives or clubs. Like I'm founding the Association of Energy Engineers this semester. With Alexandra is on our new executive board.
Wow.
Plugging that shamelessly in here. I can drop a couple more plugs if you want as well. But it's been great because there's just naturally a lot of overlap. And that's why I think it's great to bring these energy projects to the club, because they're inherently civil and they're like concept for me, but they're so heavily electrical and technically involved. So that's just perfect.
Yeah.
I also think that Makers is a space where you can really bring any of your own interests and combine it with engineering. So Mitch brings a lot of civil and environmental background in, which is super cool because I don't think we've had that perspective before. I think maybe one project a few years ago, but you're bringing it back pretty strong, which is great. But we have projects relating to dance. We have some relating to music, neuroscience.
We love that.
It's really a place to take anything that you're interested in and combine it with engineering, which I really love.
Exactly.
Yeah. What other projects have you been involved in?
So my freshman year, I was on a project called Zooming Kitties. It was an autonomous rover to drive around your cat. It was like a little cat stroller that could just drive itself. And it was very silly and doesn't really have any real life applications. Like, I don't know.
It doesn't.
It does. You can take your cat on a walk, but I think that's what I really like about Makers is like Mitch will have very like hands-on, like these are very applicable, very real projects that are like going to change the world. And then there's also silly things like the project I'm on this year is a top hat that grows when no one's looking at it. So you really get anything in Makers, from like incredibly innovative ideas that are literally going to change the world someday to like, here's just something fun that we thought of that is applying all the skills that we're learning in class and allowing us to grow through that. So that's what I really like about Makers.
Yeah.
Total sandbox. I think that's what we're saying.
Yeah,
That's like what I agree with. It's
you can
just
literally do anything.
come in with passion. You have an idea, and it's like you get your project funded, and it's like this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been on Smart Tender, which is a robotic bartender. And then this year, I'm also on the TV remote finder, which helps to like triangulate a TV remote within a room. And sort of with those two projects, like last semester on the robotic bartender, I was serving on the mechanical team, whereas this year I'm serving on the electrical team.
Oh,
and
cool.
I feel like in Makers, like that's so cool because like even though my major is like electrical engineering, like I've been given the flexibility and just like the being allowed to like whatever my interest lies in the project, like I can sort of delve into that and just being able to reach out of my major, reach out of my coursework. I really love that about like.
Wait, I didn't know you were on the mechanical team last year.
Yeah, for the robot, like there's like this entire like 4-frame like chassis, like like frame that was, I don't know, 5 feet long that I helped to build. So I was like Allen keying a lot last semester, drilling.
Wait, how was that? So, because obviously you don't learn a lot of that in your coursework. So how is learning that on the side? I've noticed that like upperclassmen and Makers are very, very willing to share whatever knowledge they have.
A lot of it was taught by senior members of Makers. That was very helpful. A lot of people in my project team are even just like asking around the other groups, like during general meeting was super helpful. And like the tutorials, honestly, I feel like helped a lot because I also learned how to CAD, which I didn't know how to do. So that was very useful.
That's cool. Yeah. Let's talk about, so we have a PM here, we have co-president, and we have director of membership. So Makers is unique in the sense that it has multiple avenues for leadership, right? Exploration. Like you can either manage a project, which is a very valuable skill in engineering. And I feel like after a certain number of years as, you know, an engineer doing like technical stuff, a lot of people move into project management. So those skills are very nice to learn early on. But they also have like the typical e-board. So what has your experience been like both getting into e-board or PM and managing like that?
Hi there, it's Brooke, one of your Viterbi admission counselors with your mid-podcast message. I want to tell you about our year-round on-campus Visit Viterbi experiences. They're the best way to get to know more about our Viterbi programs. It's a 90-minute session focused on first-year applicants, and it includes an overview of our academic programs and admission process. It's led by one of our very own USC Viterbi admission counselors. So if you'd like to join us on campus, we would love to meet you. Please visit viterbi.link/events, that's VITERBI.link/events to reserve your Visit Viterbi experience. Now back to the podcast.
Well, I could say that, being a part of other e-boards in Viterbi, like this is something very exclusive to, like you're saying, having technical ability to manage. And I foresee myself doing this again next year as well. I think I'll do 3 years of PMing. Although e-board is cool, in this is such a unique capacity that I want to continue doing.
I didn't know you were a PM last year.
Yeah.
What was your project last year?
Solely Clean Solar is what is his name, and it's a self-cleaning solar panel that Alexandra found out today, has been stolen from me and is now on sale on Amazon.
Beat to market. My dad sent it to me this morning.
Oh my
Well,
God.
no, the concepts existed already. That's another thing in makers. We do like to push ideas that might have new ideas and stuff, but they usually come from grounded in something that's been done, so we don't waste our year for on a total research endeavor. But there was funny to see when you texted me that today that there is a $50 version of the project that we spent a year on last year for sale.
But it was way smaller than yours, and it didn't look nearly as cool.
No,
So
ours had
there's
a
some merit
bunch
in
of loose wires, and it looked like a total
It
awesome
didn't have the heart
project.
and soul that you put into it.
It will never compare. I mean, our solar panel was also 5.5 feet versus this one is about
huge.
5.5 inches. So quite a difference.
Yours
but
gets
it
more sun. It's better.
gets
Exactly.
way more.
Right. Way more powerful.
It was a home grade solar panel. It was with the ones you put on your roof,
Uh-huh.
and it was would follow the angle of the sun,
Okay.
and then it has a roller. So when it changes its angle, it cleans itself.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
It was great. It was a behemoth of a project, though.
It was massive.
How did you decide that you wanted to be a PM? You slightly mentioned this, but did you have an amazing PM your freshman year?
I did.
Okay.
Peyton Erickson, who's also a VSA.
Oh, really?
Yes, she was my freshman year project manager. Talaria was the project, which was oddly enough right before I wanted to get involved in kind of energy, and before I was even a civil. It was an energy project. It was piezoelectric crystals in your shoes and generating electricity from walking, which is similar to kind of what I'm working on today.
Yeah.
And what are you doing now?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
It really is full circle.
Yeah.
And how has your experience been? Have you learned anything along the way about being a PM?
Learned lots.
Yeah. How much are you actually involved in the technical side of your project now that you're a PM?
It's touch and go depending on what we're doing exactly, which is why I really like being a PM, because it's a lot of stuff I wouldn't learn, especially being civil engineering. Because we know how to CAD and stuff. I would say is something quite consistent throughout the civil, and now that I'm in the mechanical department as well. But in the terms of electrical engineering or anything like that, everything I know is all from makers and hopping in on certain to help and be an auxiliary force within the project.
Nice. What about you, Alexandra?
What have I learned in my journey coming?
Well, how
Well,
has
just
your
in general.
experience been because you were on e-board before?
Right. Yes. Yeah. So I joined in the spring, and spring semester is when we do our applications for eBoard.
Mhm.
I'd been in the club for about 6 weeks when the incoming prospective presidents were like, you'd be good for marketing. And I did have some social media management experience, which is basically all that director of marketing does is manage Instagram and make merch.
Okay.
And it's also a pretty good role if you're just first time joining an eBoard. Marketing is, I would not say it's low stakes because it's very important to our recruitment and
Definitely,
stuff, but it's a good way, it's a good little gateway into eBoard in general. So I was director of marketing, and I just kind of learned a lot about how this club runs under the hood, helped me see kind of how all the management stuff works. And then as for becoming president, I don't think you choose to be president. I think president chooses you.
Okay.
Because it's just like kind of naturally at the end of the year, everyone just kind of knows who's going to be president, whether or not you're like, and it's not usually uncontested, and the role comes upon you.
Right.
And I think this year as president especially has been such a steep learning curve, because I went from I handled the Instagram and I just hear how the events are set up to now I have my hands dipped into everything. So we have our mentorship program, our outreach program, we have our events, our tutorials, everything that happens, our recruitment. I know about that. I make sure it gets done. I make sure it's done properly. And it's honestly been a lot of fun it's been quite a challenge, I would say, but it's been very fun to learn how to handle all of these things at once and also how to lead a team. I have 8 other people on my e-board plus my one co-president. So it's been very interesting to learn, okay, how do I actually delegate these tasks so that we get things done?
Yeah, it's probably also nice to have another, like a co-president.
Oh yeah, she's great. She's like an awesome sounding board. I run every idea I have past her, and she also runs everything past me, and we're super tight. So I love that.
Nice. Very nice. Alanna, what about you?
So I originally wanted to go into director of membership because I just really love like the entire candidacy process, which membership runs. I went to like so many of the events, the tutorials, the outreach points, and I really just like loved being involved with the club. I really loved being involved with the members, and sort of with that, I feel like the just role of director of membership, I feel like just gives segue to interacting with a lot of the actives, but more importantly, like really focusing on those new members. Another part that I really loved is like when I was a new member, a really big part of my experience was the mentorship program. So I got really close to my mentor, and she was director of mentorship. So I just really like love seeing like what she did, helping out. And in this role, I feel like I've learned so much about just people, about how to like approach a process. Because I know like a main portion of the director of membership role is recruitment. So I really loved interacting with anybody who's interested in makers, getting to tell people how much I love makers, getting to see people interested in makers. But at the end of the process, like really connecting with the new members and getting to know them and like sort of see them grow throughout the semester from like the very beginning where they're like shy and like sort of scared to talk, whereas now they're like hosting podcasts about makers or just like really like involved with the club, like just seeing them like being able to like interact with actives, like joke around.
Full circle.
It's like just so full circle, and just like knowing that like I sort of helped to like facilitate that process. It's very fulfilling for me.
So did you also apply 6 weeks into your first semester? Is that
I just really wanted to be director of membership.
Okay, cool. Tell us more about candidacy. What's that process like for new member integration, especially because you run it?
Yeah. So candidacy is essentially just to become active within the club, you have to have a certain number of events that you go to. So there's social events that you have to go to. There's outreach events that you have to go to. And outreach in this context is like sort of interacting with companies, maybe going to resume workshops, or just maybe like having a company come in and talk to you about like what they do, giving your resume to them. And then there's also tutorials where one of our other e-board members sort of teaches you a new skill that maybe you're not exposed to. Like that's where I learned how to CAD, which I never would have learned in one of my classes, or other electrical or mechanical things like that, or software. And a new member must meet all of those requirements in order to become an active. And that's just really to help with making sure they're prepared to technically contribute to their teams, but also help them integrate into the club socially, because it helps them to meet a lot of active members.
Yeah, especially because there's a lot of people in the club, right? Like you have your own project team, but then you have a lot of other people that you otherwise maybe wouldn't really interact with, especially in a regular like meeting. So I think that helped a lot, especially for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glad you enjoyed it.
Let's what has been your most favorite memory from the club? Either because there's a lot of, bonding events, retreats, obviously all of the new member events. What's been your favorite, Mitch?
I mean, this is just an obvious answer for me. Last semester, getting our solar panel onto campus for spring showcase. Like, let me just set the scene for you here. So we have this solar panel that weighs maybe 150 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
Off campus for the week because we're testing it at one of my team members' house, like to have it with the sun. This happens to be on the day of the protests in April.
Oh.
Was our spring showcase. Okay. So we have to get this on to campus. Campus is shut down. Okay. So I'm borrowing my friend's car and the streets around campus are shut down.
Mhm.
But the way we pulled together and we got 5 people to carry this solar panel across campus. Okay. It was, I mean, just such a pure show of effort and the passion that this team, plus my girlfriend, who hopped on and helped
Dedication.
make sure we got there, and we were the first presentation, and we were there within like a minute of us having to get started. We're sweating, we're dripping in sweat. We're like, let's just do it. It was beautiful. We made it work.
Awesome.
I remember you guys walking in carrying that thing. Like, where did you guys carry that in from? You're like 20 minutes away. Like, we dragged this whole thing. You guys are like dripping in sweat, and you're like, okay, let's go.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
We hit the ground running.
And it was a great presentation
Thank
too.
you.
It was awesome.
Thank you.
What about your favorite?
I also will touch on Spring Showcase from last semester, just like Mitch said. A really big thing for me, especially being on eBoard, is you actually see everyone grow throughout the year. When you're a general member, maybe you don't really know what happens on the other projects as much, but when you're on eBoard, you kind of see everything. So at the end of the year, when we have our showcase, everyone talks about all their progress. And it's just like such a heartwarming moment. It's so fulfilling because everyone is just like, everyone's so happy, and I'm so happy to see how much everyone has grown, and the energy is so high, and there's food, and other people come. And it's just like such a satisfying moment because it's like, here's all our hard work that we put in, and now it's paying off.
I think I felt the same way about Fall Showcase. Like it's one thing learning about, as a new member, especially like learning about all of the projects at PM networking night. And I guess that's really the last time I like looked at all of the projects that weren't my own.
Mm-hmm.
But then seeing all of them like grow from ideation to almost a proof of concept was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
No, it's awesome to see everyone come together because, like you're saying, we might not see what everyone's doing on their own time, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely.
What about your favorite?
I'm going to have to say my first Makers Retreat.
Okay.
I feel like retreat is a part where not only like everyone at the clubs get together, like active, eBoard, PMs, new mems, and essentially we just go away to a retreat house and we really just get to know one another. Last semester, we drove up to the mountains and we had like an entire snow day. So we had snowball fights, we sled, and I just loved, like, as a new member, I was meeting people that I had never like talked to before. I'd like only seen once in GM, like on the other side of the room. And there I actually connect with them. I talked to them and now we're friends. And I just really loved that. Like, we go on this retreat every single semester and it just keeps getting better.
I hope everyone hears that. Engineers do fun stuff too, like snowball fights.
Yeah, very fun. Sledding, snow angels.
Oh, yeah. What has networking been like? So a lot of makers are very successful people. And I know we have a mentorship kind of program for new members. My wonderful mentor, Alexandra, is over here with us.
So much love.
But what has it been like networking with maybe past makers? Has that been easy? What have you learned? Any insights?
I would say everyone in Makers is always happy to help. I know at USC, they always talk about the Trojan Network. That's especially true for Makers because even if you don't know someone, like I've messaged like our founding president, I've messaged people who graduated a year or two ago, whether it was for my personal reasons or like to set something up for Makers. Yeah. They're always so happy immediately to help people out. Sometimes they reach out to us and are like, hey, like, my company is looking for interns, have some makers send in their resume. So they are actually reaching back into this community and they want more makers to like get into their industry and follow their path. So everyone's really, really happy to help. We've set up like panels. We've had resume books put together by makers. We've had talks put in by past makers, especially for the PMs and training them and getting them set up for a good year. We have past PMs come and give talks, which is always super insightful. I'm sure Mitch agrees.
Oh, it's great. Especially like this is like what you're saying has been going on for 2 years now. And it's just been great to see like over the past 2 years, like people who want to come back. I mean, we could even, he's not here right now, but Brad worked for the original like founding makers their company right
Yeah.
now
Mhm.
Oh,
last summer.
really?
Yeah.
As an intern. So it's like a tight network.
Definitely.
I mean, I could even tell you about like not like external, but like my mentor, Aiden, who's graduated. He's fantastic. Just like even like loose connections with him. I mean, last summer I had quite a debacle in the spring where this company like rescinded my internship offer like the week I was supposed to join on.
Oh my gosh.
Because they like basically bankrupted the office.
Oh.
And I like was supposed to be in New York, so I called up Aiden because he's from New York, and I was just like, it's just that kind of like backbone, like that to have people, and he was great, and he like put me in touch with other people. Like I ended up getting an internship back in Scranton. Like it didn't go down this not like leading you down the avenue to say like I got an internship, but like to talk to people in New York, who I'm still in touch with, who are like still
Nice.
like people who I'm know and communicate with. So it's great.
That's nice.
I will say also, like through the mentorship program, I feel like a lot of opportunities are not necessarily exclusive to mentorship when it comes to networking, but it definitely does help. Elizabeth, my co-president, was actually my mentor when I first joined
No
Makers.
way.
Yeah, isn't that so cute?
I didn't
Like a
know
little
that.
full circle moment. That was only for my first semester.
Uh-huh.
But she actually has gotten me in contact with people because she works in pharmaceuticals, which is something I'm interested as well. So she's gotten me in contact with people there, and then also I've gotten one of my mentees set up with like a research opportunity. One time I was a TA for a class that she was taking. So on a technicality, I like wrote her a letter of recommendation for a job, and she got the internship.
Wow.
So like anything is possible with the spirit of makers. I don't know if I just wrote that good of a letter of recommendation. that she
It could
got
be.
the job.
So when are you writing me a letter?
Just let me know, babe. Let me know.
Wait, I agree. Like, she wasn't necessarily my mentor, but Pooja, the past president of Makers, she was in a role at this company that I was interviewing for, and she helped me interview prep. She gave me all like some of the questions that she answered, but it's not only like a technical, I feel like mentorship, but like just like overall life advice. I was just like texting her about like general industry advice, general just like what do I want to do with my life advice.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like just like the overall guidance and just like she was just able to help so much. And I feel like throughout Makers, like everyone has that person or multiple people throughout the entire organization.
Yeah, and even if it's not mentorship, it's just an extra avenue for a connection, right? Like instead of reaching out to a random senior, like for me studying ECE, at least we're both in Makers. So that's an extra reason to, ask and answer. Mitch, I'm curious, what does the PM kind of training process look like from like how do you come up with an idea and then where do you go from there? I know by fall you have an idea, obviously. But what does that summer look like?
So this goes back to really what I really wanted to join Makers for in the first place is it is inherently parallel to like the startup universe. Like you have to have repetitive ideations and like you have to like cut the shit out, for lack of a better word. Like you have to get it boiled down to practical ideas because you start with like so much and you have to narrow your focus, so the training process over the summer between like bringing in old makers who give you advice on how they did this or like people in industry, like what is practical and what works, like brainstorming activities, just like small things that you have to chip away at the block because it's not something you can inherently just like you could, throw it at the board, but it's usually takes more substance to like refine. You could think of like refining like the stone with the idea,
So do you know exactly how you're going to solve this problem or like create this product before you start? And you know what pathway you want to take? Or is it more you bring on a team and you discuss how you're going to go about it?
I think you can go about it two ways. I've heard PMs do both. The better idea, in my opinion, and from I think what we've experienced in the club, has been like plan A to come with a plan of action of like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go here to here to here. However, I have seen rebrandings and like pivots, as we would call them, in the spring when you get more new members and like you have different technical skill sets, like you can move the way you're going with the project. Like for instance, last year, my solar panel project, to clean that solar panel, like the whole like self-cleaning idea, we initially wanted to use water to clean it. So like when it turns, like water, you could picture is going across the solar panel by gravity.
Okay.
Right. So then there was one, I'm not going to mention what building this was in, but there was one night when we were testing said water system and we might have spilled quite a bit of water. So we pivoted to the roller system, and like stuff like that you can't foresee happening.
I completely echo that. Not as a PM, but as a member, I think my PM has done a great job of letting us kind of figure out the initial how do we want to go about getting. So I'm on Karate Kid, right? So we're building a kind of user interface that can teach users self-defense inspired by the wipe on, wipe off. And so we want to get position and acceleration data, but she did a really good job of, why don't we look at all of the possibilities and see where we should start? And a lot of it didn't work. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very different from what you do in like lab or as in one of the class projects, because you're given, said sensors and peripherals and, microcontrollers and to just make this work and just like wire it up. But in order to figure out what to use, I think that's also a useful skill.
Yeah, I love sorry.
Go ahead.
I love like the freedom and just like creative control that you get in your team, especially like at the very beginning of the project. You just have so much vision, I feel like, that you just want to sort of see happen, and being able to sort of like apply what you've learned in class, but also like research the area yourself, because some of the stuff you'll never learn about in class, but you'll be able to get to learn and like really delve into those areas.
Definitely.
Yeah. I also think as a PM, it's a very kind of a nuanced thing, because as the leader of this project, you want to see it succeed naturally, right? And you want to set your team up to be as prepared as possible. But on the contrary, in the summer, when we put our PMs through basically PM boot camp, and we make them do these trainings, we tell them, like, don't figure it all out now. Mm-hmm. Or if you do want to figure out, okay, this is what microcontroller I want to use, and this is like kind of how it should look, and all these details, don't show the blueprint to your team, because you need them to buy in. People are more motivated to dedicate themselves to a project if they feel like it's their own, if they feel like they contributed their ideas and got to kind of make it their own a little bit. So as a PM, it's a good idea to know kind of, okay, this is how we could go about it, but also don't be super set in this is how it should be done, because your team is generally very competent, very talented, very smart engineers, and they're going to have ideas that you probably didn't even think of that might make the project 20 times easier.
Oh, yeah.
I would say you're the captain of the ship when it is, you're the PM. Like, you don't know what the prevailing wind is going to be every day and like what the waves are going to be, but like, where you want to go. And so you're guiding your team there, and like you set the destination, but then like they're going to make sure that we, navigate that way there.
That's a good analogy. I'm going to steal that. For
You're going to see that in marketing next semester.
Director of marketing. Okay, so with recruitment coming up, give me a 2-sentence pitch. Why should someone join Makers? Why should an engineering student?
You will make the best friends of your life and learn the most things out of any club at Viterbi.
I'm going to say keep it really short, for the people, for the projects.
Oh,
amen.
Yeah.
Good. Put that on the shirt.
Yes. Write that down.
You're the one that's
marketing. Next recruitment cycle.
Do you have one?
I mean, it really is as simple as that. It's great people, great projects.
Thank you.
It is. It doesn't do it justice to say more when less is better.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I hope all of our listeners enjoyed it as much as we did. I want to thank our 3 amazing makers for taking time out of their busy schedules.
Oh, thank you.
To speak with me.
Because we have 4 makers here. Thank you as well.
Yeah. Thank you for organizing this.
Yeah.
We got to get makers out there.
Yeah.
Everyone apply.
Apply.
Join makers.
And if not, come to our spring showcase.
Yeah. There will be food.
There will be food. Exactly. Awesome. Well, we'll see you on our next episode. Thank you.
And we're back. Thank you for bringing us such a lovely episode. I was actually in Makers the first semester I transferred here as well, and it's such a lovely club. And I feel like it's a question a lot of people ask me about when I'm doing information sessions with through Viterbi Student Ambassador. because they're always interested in how to get involved on campus and how you get involved in different design teams. So they love asking about makers. So I'm sure they're gonna truly appreciate this episode.
Yeah.
What got you interested in joining? Like, what was the thing that made you say this is what I want to do compared to other organizations that are out there?
Ooh, that's a good
Sure.
question.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the main things, I had talked to multiple makers my freshman year. So I actually joined, my sophomore year. And one thing that really resonated with me is everyone just had like a spirit or a passion for just creating and making. I also noticed that I found myself missing EE 109 labs, which is embedded systems. We had really cool labs where we're using Arduinos and breadboards, and a lot of, other peripherals and sensors. And I found myself missing that.
That was your
Um,
first year EE class, right?
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm in that
Uh,
class right now. It's not for me personally, but I'm
Oh,
glad
this is
you
what you
enjoyed
talked
it.
about last episode about you
Yeah.
having a hard time in the freshman class.
I'm very much code or software minded, not hardware
Okay,
minded. So
that's
this is
fair.
not for me.
See, I'm actually the opposite. I really don't want to do software. But I love hardware. And so given that the club was started off of
Mhm.
other people missing 109 labs, I was like, maybe this is for me.
Mhm.
And throughout my interview process and everything, I just found that everyone genuinely found joy building stuff
Mhm.
just for fun. And I was
Well,
like, yeah, that's where I want to be.
did you have what were your experiences in high school? Did you have stuff like this in high school, or what were you tending to do? What was your identity like in high school outside of class?
Yeah, I think that we definitely had robotics teams. I was not involved in them. I was very focused on music and dance outside of school. So for me, this was completely new, and I wanted to get
That's
involved
great.
in that in college.
I think that's important to know is that I think a lot of people coming out of high school believe that identities are supposed to be set,
Mhm.
that people think like, oh, I sometimes even don't even, we talk about this a lot. People think that they can't even be engineers because they weren't involved in robotics teams since they were in middle school or that they have all of that experience. And I always say like, if you've gotten the class, the academic preparation, as long as you're doing that, you understand the math and science, you'll be fine. It's just the willingness and the ideas to create things. And that I think that translates well to your experience here in the idea of engagement and involvement. And like just because you've never done it before doesn't mean it's something you can't do. And it turns out you're loving it and having a great time.
Exactly.
I think that's what drew me specifically to makers in the beginning too, because they really put an emphasis on we're not looking at your skills, we're just looking that you have
Yes.
a willingness to try things out and to be a part of a team and come to a solution together. That's why I applied initially. Also, it's funded by the EE department, so you get a little more cool things out of it. But that was just a bonus on the side.
Yeah, definitely.
Love
And
it.
as we mentioned, like some of the projects are interdisciplinary and have a lot
Mhm.
of creative scope. So
Yeah,
there's scope to like combine your
really cool.
interests there too.
What do you hope to make before the end of the academic year?
Yeah, so I'm actually on a project called Karate Kid, and we're essentially developing kind of a user interface that can teach a user self-defense. So we're hoping to have, kind of a minimum viable product where a user can do a simple like wax on, wax off, wiping a car with sensors on their limbs, and the computer should be able to sense that and let them know like if they're going in the right direction, have a training module, and have like an actual testing and playing.
That's cool. Did have you seen The Karate Kid, the movie?
Yes, I have.
Okay. It just seems such a dated movie. That's awesome. I love it. I'm a fan. I grew up with that. So like, have you seen all of the films? Do you watch Cobra Kai? Is this a thing? Where did the Karate
Oh.
Kid thing come from?
I think I watched it once on a plane.
And that was it. I don't need any more.
That was it.
Okay. All right. Cool. What are you all planning on doing for your break? We've got what? This is the last week of classes, correct? We're
So
just wrapping up the
exciting.
last week, and finals are coming up, which, it's gonna be rough. You're gonna get through it. But what's happening on the other side of that? What are you all doing after this for your break? Are we going home? Are we relaxing? Any exciting plans?
Do you want to go
Yeah,
first?
Safia, you could go first.
No, no,
No,
go
no, she
ahead,
was
go
saying
ahead.
you, not Savito.
So I'm actually going to India after 5 years. I'm going
Wow.
Oh,
to Chennai, which is where the Music and Dance Festival is in December. And I'm actually performing at three different places. So I'm very excited.
Wow. In Chennai.
Yeah.
what are you
Wow, that is
performing? Like,
fantastic.
are you in a group that's performing or?
Well, I'm doing three solos, two for
Oh my
dance and
gosh,
for music. Yeah.
that's so cool. What kind of dance
Is
do you
that
do?
is that the part of India that you are from?
No, it's not. So Well, originally, yes, but my parents both grew up in Mumbai. Um, so yeah, not much family left there anymore. So
Oh my
I think you
gosh.
asked what type of dance. I do Bharatanatyam, which is a type of Indian classical.
That's really cool.
Very cool.
Also,
Sophia?
I'm going to Oman the day of my last final. So I take my final and then I go,
Oman?
yeah, the
Holy
country.
cow. Yeah, I know. I was like,
No,
like, did
because
I just
people
hear you
keep thinking
say,
I'm saying I'm going to Jordan because like there's Amman, which is like a city in Jordan.
oh,
And
Amman,
then
not Amman, Jordan, but Oman, the country.
yeah.
Got it.
So I'm going there like probably an hour after my last final. And
Whoa.
then I'll be there until the 26th. And then I'm gonna go to the Bay a couple times in January, but that's all I have planned.
Very cool. How long is that flight?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think
Is it a one
it's
way or is it a direct flight or you just do you have to connect
no, I
somewhere?
have to stop in
Connect in
Saudi
London?
first.
Oh, it's Saudi. Oof.
But I think it's a 15-hour flight. I could be so wrong. I think because I'm so used to flying to like Pakistan and that's a 17-hour flight that like I'm not phased by long flights anymore.
Wow. Okay. Cool. And then Hansini, your flight is that how many stops you have to go? How long is that flight going to be to Chennai?
It is, I'm not sure off the top of my head. I know I have a stop in Dubai. I think it's like on the order of 14 hours to Dubai and maybe like 3 or 4 after that.
See, I'm trying to mentally prepare myself because I'm going to be going to India for the first time in April.
Ooh.
And I haven't booked any flights yet, but I was trying to figure out, I'm not familiar with those flight patterns. So I was trying to figure out where I would go through and what those flights are looking like. Cause it looks like basically a 24-hour flight day. Like you're
Oh,
just,
Yeah,
really?
with the layover too. I prefer going to somewhere like London or Germany. So it's like 10 hours and then 10 hours and not
that's
like
what I'm thinking.
16.
Yeah. I'm thinking London is the best connection for me, but I don't know. I've heard different versions of it. And for me, I have a very specific, carrier that I want to stay on. So that's just me
Okay,
because I
fair.
want to keep earning my points, my
Mm.
miles.
Miles, yeah.
Well, fantastic. I'm sorry for running late this morning. It's a little bit different for me because I'm currently in Hawaii, and this is a very different time zone. And we wanted to do this in the morning, which is great for me. It actually works out fine. It's just that I had to get back to my room to get the computer up and running. But I apologize that the audio is not good on my end. I did not want to go on vacation with a microphone, but I did bring my laptop so that we could do this call. But other than that, I appreciate both of you for doing this. Thank you all for listening to season 10. This would be again our mid-season finale, and we will be back sometime in January with the beginning of the end of season 10's other halfway point. Thank you so much. Have a great winter break, everybody. A happy holiday season, a happy new year, and we will see you all in 2025. Bye, everybody.